part. So we try and actually get the active part and move it away from stations 1 and 2. Otherwise, it gets extremely loud. Okay? Now, we're going to talk about the importance of physical activity in this part. Nutrition is important for good diabetes control. Eating a well-balanced meal helps control the glucose level. It also helps you maintain a proper weight to decrease your chances of developing type 2 diabetes. Along with eating healthy, it's also important for physical activity. By increasing your level of physical activity, you can help prevent or reduce your chances of developing type 2 diabetes. Did you know just 30 minutes of physical activity a day can help? Being physically active can help lower your blood glucose or the sugar, lower your blood pressure and cholesterol. In addition, it strengthens your heart, muscles, and bone. Someone with diabetes does not have to stay away from exercise. In fact, it's very good for them. We also need to look at our diet to make sure that we're eating vegetables, both raw and cooked, fruits, fat-free or 1% milk, chicken and turkey, and limit the fat in our beef and pork. You should try to eat whole grains and bread and cereal and limit the fat and sugar in your diet. Now, the next activity is called Calorie Relay. We're going to pick food cards that list fat grams for that food. The higher the fat content of that food, the more cones they have to run, or the more exercise they have to do, okay? So, just for the lack of space in here, I'm going to set it up here. Kids love this version. Okay, when we're setting this up, we are setting those cones a couple feet apart from each other, just in a straight line. And the whole purpose, what this comes down to, is the kids will draw a card and they'll read it, McDonald's fish sandwich. That kind of has a lot in it, okay? So they have to go around 4 cones. So with that, I should have done this outside.
I know.
With that, what happens is, and they're in 2 lines, these kids are going to run in and out of the cones, and they're going to run for the 4 cones. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then run right back to the end of the line. Okay? So another example. The next child then will pick a cup of 2% milk, and it has 2 fat grams. They only have to run 1 cone and then come back. And we go through the whole line. 20 potato chips. That has 10 grams of fat, so you're going to need to run 3 cones. So they start getting into the mentality, the higher fat concentration, the more that we need to exercise, the more cones. And we make it into 2 lines, and they usually go through once or twice, and it's a race between the 2. But again, they get ideas in terms of how much each food is worth and why we need to exercise or why we need to be active. Do you have any questions on the physical part of it? It's very simple. Okay. So with the activity, again, just reviewing it for you, we're going to separate the groups into 2 equal teams for the relay. Place food cards down in a stack at the beginning of each relay. So one side, 1 group of cards face down, and the pylon cones. Another group, another set. This is where you'll have a volunteer on each side. First person from each team picks a card, reads it out loud, what kind of food it is, the grams of fat, and the number of cones they have to run. Keep the card and run around the number of cones indicated. When the first person returns, the next person picks a card, runs that number of cones. The relay continues until there are no more cards left. When the relay is finished, the group should sit down to discuss. Each student should count up the number of cones they had to run individually and compare this number to the other people in the group. The group should then discuss who has the most and why. Also, we should talk about what foods are high in fat and what it means to them in regards to exercise. Sometimes what we will do if we have a little bit of time left, we'll allow the students to pick their own food card to see if they would pick a healthy food or a not so healthy food, and which one would take more energy to burn the grams of fat. And then again, questions at the end that we pose to them. Can you name a risk factor for having type 2 diabetes, being overweight? What are 2 things that can delay or help prevent the onset of type 2 diabetes? Maintaining a healthy weight and being active. Can you name the 6 food groups which are important to eat from each day? Bread, starch, fruit, milk, vegetable, meats, proteins, and fats. True or false? Students with diabetes should not fully participate in physical education class and team sports. False. Okay? So once these are all done, the 3 stations, we then bring all of the kids back in, and we thank them for being so attentive. They're ready to go home at this point. We talk about, we hope that they learned about diabetes and nutrition and physical activity. Then we are going to hand out a packet to each child, and we go through with them what is in the packet. So, and it may vary from time to time, but overall, they'll get a ruler. They get information about type 2 diabetes so that they can have this conversation also with their parents. There is a note from the ADA to parents about what their child was just able to experience and the program that they took part in. And they all love this, a little pedometer. And sometimes we just need to explain what a pedometer is. It keeps track of the amount of steps that you take for a full day. Anyway, they love it. And then we conclude by just giving the pre-test, or excuse me, the post